Namaste. Welcome. We are about to do a boat launch. A new boat has been launched into the ocean of existence, and we are all witness in celebration. So this is who we now have. Notice he's sitting so much, he looks so much bigger than me. I love it. All right, Satas, go ahead.
So it is my supreme pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to this auspicious occasion. I myself found out about 10 to 12 minutes ago, I was sitting in this chair. I just happened to put on a nicer shirt in honor of the occasion today to sit in the back of the room. And true to form of being a student of Shree, you're thrown into the fire.
To see if you'll swim.
To see if you'll swim. If the boat will launch or sink.
Yeah, that's right. Switching analogies here.
And so in the moments when I was sitting here, what I want to speak to just briefly is the deep sacredness of this opportunity. Sitting together in this field, it is abundantly apparent to me that this is the moment before the full furor of the Mahabharat happens. This is the moment in which Krishna pauses the melee in the chaos to instruct the Arjuna in each of us as to what is our duty in our response in our Dharma, and to carry us across the thresholds along the latter part of the spiritual journey that will culminate in our fulfillment of our own Krishna nature. So for me, sitting here next to my teacher and my master and my guru is just a supreme delight. And I wish it to be the same delight for each of us, because each and every one of us sits in that one chariot, in this precious opportunity to receive the Dharma of the foundation of all of Shree's teachings in a way that he hasn't fully had the chance to let rip in a good 5 years. So I'm just ecstatic at what is about to take place here, the awesomeness of it, and that each of us has, through the grace of the lives we've lived and the journeys we've traveled, the opportunity to be that Arjuna standing in the chariot here on the battlefield. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Satas. And I'm the most delighted of the two of us, I assure you, and to have all of you join us in the witnessing of this transition, because it really is a transition, and Satas is the beginning of a number who are coming forward who are empowering and sanctioning to carry some of the burden of the work that's before us. So, welcome. I want to speak a little to my intent, and the opportunity here is for you all to witness and to be able to participate with the discovery of the capacity of what we speak of when we speak of the Supreme Being that lives within each of you. Us human beings have a unique power in the creation. We are the bridge between the power of spirit above and the power of matter below. We are the link that crosses the chasm between this recovery of the relationship of these two principles and the discovery of what is the next stage of evolution in the interplay of these archetypal primal principles of spirit and matter. It is in our bodies as a representative of matter, and in our consciousness as a representative of spirit, that we are in our unique position. Actualizing this, making this available to us, in my experience, especially for those of you who are awakened, is becoming aware of this in your own experience, to wake up to the inherent power you are. This capacity of discovering what that is brings with it also the responsibility of that power. And it's in the sacredness of the opportunity we have as human beings that this transition can occur, where our power becomes a channel for the universe to work out what is left in matter, for spirit to come and bring what is needed to meet the demand and the pressures and the requirement of this time of transition. All you have to do here is walk outside. You can see the remnants of the apocalyptic fires that are burning once green California and converting it into a new Nevada. All you have to do is watch, like I did, endured calmly an hour and a half of the current leader of this country and the candidate who's looking for his position, to see the chaos that's being created. It is clear we're in a peaking of the peril. And it's perfect that on this full moon day in October 1st, we are launching into this conversation about what is our role? What is our Dharma? What is the inherent possibility we have within us that can equal these times that we were born into? We don't have a choice about the peril that comes to us. We have a choice in how we meet the peril. And this is what determines our ability to access this supreme capacity that lies within each and every one of us. See, in another time of existence, it is said, Sri Aurobindo and the Mother share this, that the Supreme Being gave this power, this intervening power, to the gods. And they went out and played, and they got into trouble in the process of creating creation, such that they rebelled against God, and you had the division of good and bad, darkness and light. Those who had the power that went to darkness were not being responsible for the power. They didn't know how to be responsible. They're like our Trump, who doesn't know that there's anything different than what he believes is true. There was a complete delusional that took over him, and in that, we created darkness. And those who were able to cling to their power could only do so with the help of the Supreme Being coming in. And after a while, the Supreme Being said, well, this didn't work. Let's push the reset button and let's go into 1,000 nights of Brahman, and then we'll figure out what's next. And what he did in this creation is he gave the power, but he also gave shame. He also gave diminishment. He also gave self-doubt. He gave a quantum that would stop these intermediary beings from getting into trouble. And thus, out of that, he mobilized the darkness itself, setting in motion an awakening process that carried within it the habit of the darkness. And in the process of evolution, what is flowering, especially now, is the awakening consciousness in the human beings. And this awakening consciousness now is a tempered power, tempered by a quality of self-questioning, tempered by a sensitivity to its impacts, tempered to the recognition of the nature and the cost of bondage. And yet in the mystery and the miracle of existence that's available uniquely to human beings. And in that, in the wonder and in the awe, and in the humility, and in the willingness, comes a power that can finally allow a reconciling between these two principles. This is what I sense, this is what I feel, this is what I look inside myself and I find the truth of this. It's why we're here. It's why we're having this conversation. It is why we were all born. It is our Dharma. It is our purpose. To be able to manifest that inherent power in the vehicle of the humility and the limitation of our human embodiment. To be both human and divine. To tolerate the paradox of that, and yet serve something greater. So, power of spirit, power of matter, and the human power. What is this human power? We know that most of it is shaped by ignorance, by the diminishment of being embodied in a vehicle of matter, in the organic material of matter. But we also know that there are moments and glimmers of inspiration, of beauty and art, and the recognition of a possibility that hasn't yet occurred, which has allowed humanity through the course of the known history to evolve to the point where they've come out of the ignorance and come out of the obscurity enough to create an ordering that's aligned with a possibility that was inherent in this reconciling of spirit and matter. We are the means that have had it and brought it to this point. Now, all in the darkness and all in spirit, all in light, and all in humans is the same principle. It's the same principle. This power of becoming was inherent in the original creation. And of course, it's clearly demonstrated in the evolution of matter throughout thousands, billions of years. We are the culmination of this one principle. The Bhagavad Gita is the doorway to discover this archetypal design that allows us to begin to see the inherent power we already carry, to begin to recognize the nature of what is necessary for us to bring that into our embodiment such that we become capable of becoming vehicles and recognizing that that we can play a role in the opportunity of the unfolding of this evolution. So the Gita is pointing to it. And where does the Gita start? It starts with diminishment. It starts from the point of recognizing the bondage. It starts with the point of we wake up that we're asleep and that we are bound and limited and suffering. What can be bound is what's waking us up. What imagines it could be bound is what's moving us into relationship with that which cannot be bound. And that's what experiences the dejection, to come out of what the universe, with the Supreme Being planted in us, that original sin, that original error of self-diminishment, the original mistake about what we are in truth, becoming this who that's limited and shaped by fear and desire and attachment and control and ignorance and delusion. The Gita is pointing to the predicament that we're in, but at the same time, giving us a means to meet it, to see it, to wake up to the predicament, to the peril that has been inherently here, latent perhaps for some, but obviously demonstrated in the consequences of the actions based on ignorance, of the actions based on delusion, of humanity throughout throughout the thousands and hundreds of thousands of years that humanity's been in existence. And despite the peril, there has been evolution. Despite the failures, there has been successes. And it's actually this ebb and flow of the collapse of the consequences of ignorance leading to the next enlightenment. Dark ages followed the Renaissance. There are these periods of time in the unfolding of consciousness. So the Gita is pointing out the design that we find ourselves in, the context that we are living in order for right here, right now, coming into that quality of awakened self, we can begin to validate and see for ourselves and experience for ourselves the nature of our bondage, not as the bondage, but as the one who's recognizing the bondage, the one who's discovering their own bondage, not to be defeated, but ultimately to be empowered, to be able to come out of the consequence of the habit of the collective error and discover this inherent power that lies latent in all of us. Human power, the power of divinity embedded in matter, the awakening of this inherent capacity and potential that is our true self. It is the real source of me and you and the one that's right here, right now, who's committed to be here. The I in you that had yourself be here, the I am that you are, that has you be here now to hear these words, is this same power that the Gita is pointing to. How is it that you ended up here? What is the power that you had to bring into your life and that you brought in up until this moment that has allowed you to be here and to actually be interested or open or capable of receiving this communication? See, this I am matters because it's in matter. Matter mattering because it's aware. The gift of our self-awareness is the first entry point to the recognition of the power. And as the Gita says to Arjuna in the 2nd chapter, you never die. You were never born. None of them are. They come in and they go, playing out on the stage of the Prakriti, trying to work out the consequences and the events of the unfolding of the collective error as it tries to become something more than it's been. So let's speak. First is this, I am this, I exist, I'm here, I'm self-aware. All right? Anybody isn't here, raise your hand. Okay, now, okay, well, I'll note this. Anybody else? Okay. All right, so look at, first we got to own it that we're here. That's a good start. And it's easy to forget that because we get so caught up with everything else that happens. But we're here, and actually, Nella and all the rest of you are here by choice. Wow, look at that. Not only are you here, but you have choice. What chooses? See, there's another power. In nature, it's not chosen. It may look like, the lion today decides to eat a deer rather than a rabbit, but it's not really that's choice. It's a choice to come out of the paradigm of what you've known before. The choice to discover, to explore, to experiment, to try out, to create, to do something different than what you've done before. This becoming a new possibility inspires that in us that can choose. Of course, it can't choose if it doesn't know it has choice. It's going to completely continue the patterns of previous choices that were shaped by the previous conditionings. And that, of course, is part of our struggle of coming into the empowering of our capacity to choose. So that's one of the powers. This inherent power within us is consciousness. The organization of consciousness through our brains that gives us a sense of self-awareness means that consciousness has been able to take a focus. It's organized through our bodies into a person that can become self-aware at our stage of evolution. Our dogs, our puppies, our pets, yes, they have a little degree of that, but they're just little robots, our organic robots, in which we transfer our issues onto. And we believe they're ultimately loyal to us. Ha, ha, ha. It is this mistaken idea of what is intelligence. The thing that really is true intelligence, the true evidence, is the ability to choose newly, to break the pattern of what you've chosen in the past and to create a new possibility for yourself. So choice. The other, and this is what the Gita points to, is the ability to create a context, to create an intent to discover that which is not yet known. Context is a stepping back to observe or see or recognize or experience that which you previously were not stepped back from. The ability to step back out and to observe and witness some part of ourselves or life from a larger paradigm of looking, seeing, perceiving, experiencing. How we look at life, how we perceive life, is a reflection of our ability to actualize the power of creating context for ourselves. But every human being does it. We all create an idea of ourselves. And we create in that context a sense of me and you. And in that there's this whole power of being able to see you in a context of others, or a context of more than just your family or your community, your school, or your friends, or your neighborhood. This context capacity to hold within your knowing that which is greater than what is directly relevant to you as an individual person is part of what our education process develops, this ability to know, to experience. So the Gita prepares a frame that we can begin to have a way of holding, because this is what context is, a way of holding the lives we're already living that's different than the way we've been holding it before. It may enhance aspects of what we've held and learned and developed before, and it gives, in this case, a context that is aligned with the original purpose of our birth, the original reason for human beings, for Earth, for a solar system, for a galaxy, for a universe. It is aligned with the fundamental architectural design on which this entire creation is unfolding. And by learning to know the Gita, to learning to embody the Gita, we partake in that context. We begin to see that our troubles are actually entry doors to new possibilities. We begin to see the darkness is actually simply an opportunity for light to come in more deeply. We begin to discover that we can align with this world in a way that was unimaginable because our context was too small. The way we were holding ourselves and others and the world was too small. And that in this larger arena, we begin to see these, experience and get a sense of this universal purposefulness, this universal current of becoming. We become aware of this universal purpose of becoming, and not only can we see it all around us, we can find it within ourselves. What other teaching can we encounter that not only describes the context that we're born in the middle of, but can describe the stages of the unfolding as we come into alignment with our relationship with existence in that context. This is why I've recommended to Satas that all of you begin to immerse yourself in the Gita book itself, especially chapter 7 and on, because the book itself creates an orientation that, if repeated enough, gives you something to neutralize the habit of your ego that keeps your context all about you, keeps your context all about what's possible for you. And it starts opening up a possibility. So the thing that works, the things that worked for me and the things that worked for my teacher, he used to require people to write the Gita, the entire Gita, 3 times before he would initiate them. And there were people who would just come up to Silver City, which is just about 45 minutes away, to meet him. And before he would meet them, or he'd meet them in the room, before he'd individually meet them and initiate them, he would require they'd have to write the entire Gita 3 times in a row. Now, some people were only going to be there for a couple of days, and they were expecting they'd just go in, get initiated, go home, right? And there were people up all night long, writing the Gita, writing the Gita, writing the Gita again and again until they were blind and they didn't know what they were writing at all, and they're just writing the Gita, right? And then they brought the books that they wrote it in and put it at his feet, and then he would initiate them. Now, my teacher reveled a little bit leaned a little bit towards cruelty in his opportunity creating. But that was powerful. It was powerful. It was a powerful kind of affirmation of what he recognized, and I too recognize, the inherent power in the book itself. So we're tapping into a mystery, okay? It may seem foolish to write a book rather than understand it. Understanding, by the way, is secondary. Writing it actually teaches your body. And the body is a repository of the habit of our diminishment, the habit of our trying to come into life from the shame, from the original sin, from that kind of curse put on us to keep us from behaving poorly, unduly poorly. The only way you could keep the planet, if we discovered our full power, this planet wouldn't have survived. Because we would say, well, what do I need the earth for? So the principle of the discovery of the context is that capacity to see from a larger view, to receive and see the context in which all the content of your life is arising, is one of the great inherent powers we're capable of. And yes, the Gita is like the Da Vinci Code. It's like the key that opens us up to this capacity to hold ourselves and existence in a new light, in a larger framework. When we discover context, we begin to tap a certain degree of freedom, a certain degree of expansion of the possibility of ourselves beyond our usual capacity based on the contraction of our diminishment and our shame. And we begin to start accessing a greater power. And this power is to create, is to change our lives. It is to create a way of holding the possibility in such a way that it begins to create a pathway for that possibility to manifest. And that's the second power, the third power, I should say. Self-awareness is first. Choice is the second. Third is intent. Is context. And the fourth is intention. Now, attention is actually an act of consciousness purposefully. Consciousness acting purposefully. To intend is not to desire, it's not to get, it's not goal setting. It's to intend to discover, intend to meet that which has not been met, to discover that which is not yet known. this has a power now. Now what's happening is coming out of the context, and it's coming in and making it personal. It's making it yours. And this is the translation of this greater expanded ability to have a context to beginning to shape your life. When we've created an intent, when we say, show me what separates me from you in our prayer to the Lord, when we say, show me the ignorance that prevents me from knowing the fullness and experiencing the fullness of what I sense is possible, we are evoking, we're creating an opening in the creation so that you can begin to find, discover those things within yourself that separate you from that divine possibility. You begin to create a new reality for yourself. The power of intent comes when we act on it, when we speak it, when we make choices based on it, when we align our priorities with our intent rather than with what we want or what we don't want, with what we think we're capable of and what we don't think we're capable of. We create a new place to stand in our intent, and from there, the actions that come out, perfectly or imperfectly, both work as long as they're within that same intent. We can do no wrong because everything will serve in the context of our intent to discover the greater reality, the greater possibility we are. So you see, intent is a power. It's not only the power of context manifesting, it's the power for shaping how you see and experience things. It starts shaping the other power that comes with every human being, which is the ability to attend. What we attend to, we give power to. We are our consciousness, our field of consciousness, which is organized into our own individuality, is a greater power than that cubic centimeter of space who has enough power inherent in it to power a great city eternally. It's an inherent power in the very structure of matter that is in collaboration with consciousness. And if you look at this power, this energy, is really pointing to an expression of this inherent principle, of that innate human power. So when we begin to organize our attention aligned with our intent in the context, the paradigm that we are become aware of, we become empowered to start creating, literally creating a new existence. First, through our own ability to see and experience and recognize, but also actually it has this ripple effect into all of life that we interact with, aligning it with our intent. Now, it's very hard to see that through that practical, dismissive, modern, intellectual, skeptical mind. But in fact, that's what's going on. When we organize our attention purposefully, aligned with a context that introduces us to a possibility of becoming an existence from a whole new place, our intention has a creative power. We begin to learn that by putting our attention to the darkness that's arising in the context of the actions that we're choosing to make, and that was the other power we started with, the choosing to come into life to meet those things that separate you from your divine nature, those actions start themselves to dismantle the inherent power we've unwittingly given to those things that separate us from this supreme power that lives within us. Another expression of this power is our ability to persist, to commit, to keep taking actions aligned with the context and the intent and the possibility that creates, to bring our attention to those things that separate us from that context, from that intent. And in the process, continue to empower that power. We continue to have a reserve of energy, a reserve of capacity that's not drawing from the same biological sources of energy. We begin to activate a subtle capacity in our physical body that brings forward a quality of aliveness, of immediacy, of attention, of intelligence that wasn't ours before, or so it seemed. That was hidden, inherent. Once we aligned our lives dharmically, once we aligned our lives with the Dharma that the Bhagavad Gita points to, this manifesting principle, that power is your awakening. That power is a sense of freedom, the sense of awareness, the sense of waking up, the sense of being more willing to risk, to come into life, to go beyond your boundaries, more willing to be vulnerable and not know and take the action anyway, the more capable of leaping and then choosing to commit to the process of continuing to do so. Commit. And then enduring the process of becoming a different kind of species than the one you were born as. Transformation. Literally, the fundamental fabric of a human embodiment starts changing when you start tapping into this catalytic possibility that you are. And it begins to awaken and shift every physical part of you, every part of your embodiment matter, making matter more spirit. And with that, the nature of our identity, the nature of what we believed ourselves to be in the past fall away. And the discovery of what we're becoming, the nature of what we're becoming, becomes more available to us. And that particular transition, when we've committed enough and endured enough and held true to the context and set our priorities aligned with our intent long enough, then there becomes a point of no return, a transitional point, where the consciousness lets go without knowing it did its old identity with its limitation and chooses its emerging identity that's unlimited, unbound. And it's not something we do. It is something that happens. This happening is when the universe comes in and takes over the process. And really, most of our work will be about this stage of the process, of the unfolding of the happening as you become more and more that supreme possibility that lives, that is already what you are in truth. And this collaborating with that process uses the same set of tools that we did when we were coming out of our ego, when we were coming out of our limited self. It uses the same principles of discovering our bondage, being able to be willing to have a context, to recognize the context in which the bondage is arising, to learn how to deal and see what those are indicating, and to continue to withdraw our consent to let them determine our reality. So what we spoke of in the first part, as in the Gita in the first 6 chapters, is a preparatory for the work that happens when the happening starts happening, when it's not you meditating you. It's not a choice anymore. That it is itself almost like a different kind of you coming into existence in your body as you. And the discovery of that and learning here in this stage to collaborate consciously with the process. To continuing to remind yourself of the larger context, because even when that threshold is crossed, Even when the awakening in us breaks out of the identity with the individual human part of us and we expand into our universal part. Even at that point, we are the Supreme Being. We are not only that which is being transformed, we are that which is transforming us. Learning to collaborate with that process is really what everything I'm looking to do in this program here. And of course, it's much of my work with many of you, is to let you know that what's happening to you is the universe waking up as you. And first it wakes up, of course, by being aware of what's asleep. And first it wakes up to its resistance, its rebellion, the part of you that's still attached to the human life, that doesn't want to let go, that still thinks that it has to lose it in order for something else to happen. But eventually you don't have to lose it, you just have to change your relationship with it. This discovery of finding the right relationship with the process, because the universe doesn't want you not to be you, the person. It wants you, it wants you to be the person, and it wants to be you. Paradoxically, all the struggles and all limitations and all the stories. It wants to be in the delight of the limitations so it can enjoy the expansion of itself as you. And when your consciousness has made that transition, you become the enjoyer. You become the divine divinity waking up in you, and you get to partake in the thrill of your own unfolding. So this is the process of the later chapters of the Gita. And much of my focus will be, as we go into this, into the nature of recognizing what that process is for you and what are the intricacies of it. It'll be your opportunity to discover where you are in what I'm just speaking to. This process, because I assure you, all of you are in a process of transformation, if you like it or not. How far along in that transformation? Well, that's what it's useful for you to find out, not for me to tell you. But you will begin to find it for yourself if you follow these principles of this inherent organizing power of your consciousness to move into relationship with existence in a new way. That's why the uniqueness of the Bhagavad Gita is it pulls on the power of this awakened intelligence. And it uses that to give a context, not though the Gita uses the word of goal, it uses the word of goal, but really it is creating a context for holding yourself in existence. That is the goal. Because the unfolding is an endless series of things that happened, which any one of them can be goals from a lesser paradigm than the Bhagavad Gita. So it's beginning to discern and recognize what is the stages of the journey and what's possible and where am I in that process is also the opportunity of in being informed about the unfolding quality that's happening for you, to empower the context, to empower the intent, to empower the part of you that can discern and set priorities and organize attention, to focus on those things that matter and let the rest fall where they may, because those things that are mattering at any one moment is how we expand into the next possibility. Now, experientially, not only are you expanding in your consciousness, experientially, you're expanding into the absolute miraculousness that existence is. Simultaneously, you're meeting the true manifesting power of the human being, and that is divine love. You're meeting the power of love to transmute and to change the very fundamental organization of the collective consciousness. There is no greater force. Love is truth manifest. when you are experiencing the miracle and in the wonder of the magnificence of what's unfolding, you are that love. And love is what changes the world. Love is what soothes the wounds and strengthens the capacities of human beings to collectively come together and work to create a means of addressing the peril that is coming for all of us on this world, that endangers all of us. It is this love, this vast love, this great love, that is the ultimate outcome of this journey. And that becomes the Supreme Being manifesting its purpose through you. And what is the love for? It's the love for the World Mother. It's the love for all beings that are struggling in the process of the peril. It's the love for humanity. It's a love that holds a doorway open, a warp in time and space for the million generations that have yet to come. It's a love that holds in any one moment the fullness of what's being created with that love. The power of the Bhagavad Gita is devotion. It is the final words, the secret of all secrets of the Bhagavad Gita. It is the thing that'll stay with you forever, for as long as you're embodied, and probably forever, because this love of humanity is not ours. It's what the Supreme has for all of us. And all it wishes for us is to become that. When that's your experience, then your only will, your only drive, your only wish is to empower people to discover the magic, the mystery, the miracle of their own existence. Proof of manifestation is love, is gratitude. And there are precursors. There's relaxation, there's peace, there's a sense of freedom, the falling away of fear and anger and resentment, desire and jealousy. They all fall away as the love starts coming forward. These are all indicators, but it's the Ananda itself. It is the Ananda that evokes the Supreme to come into existence. It is the Ananda that we all have lived for. It is the profound Ananda of that which was separate, no longer being separate. That which felt the pain long enough that it keeps endlessly the appreciation of the final reunion with itself. The final samadhi, the final completion, is a state of unspeakable ananda in which everything and all time disappears. So this ship we're launching, this ship maybe of apparent fools that we're launching, as we're casting into the ocean, the uncertain ocean, the perilous ocean, which right now is very turbulent. It's also heating 40 times faster than scientists have predicted. It's also, if it hadn't been handling the heat that we've been pumping out into the atmosphere, our temperature would be 97 degrees hotter than it is right now, which of course is, we wouldn't be here. There are so many other parts of the peril of this ocean that we are in this transition. Never in the history of mankind has this happened before. these are the last days or the beginning of a new era. Now, I celebrate in that. I celebrate that because I eat all poison. My love is not limited by happy or sad or love or hate. It eats it all. It's all in that. That capacity is what is needed. It is needed. It is the work of the new Dharma to create poison eaters, to create those that can meet the chaos, those that can hold the context and see its purpose and not be overtaken and caught up into the current of the current turbulence that's going on. I need people who can take a stand, who can discover within themselves this strength that comes from a place different, very, very different than our old ways of thinking of ourselves. A strength beyond this life, a strength beyond ourselves. A capacity to come into relationship with existence that was unimaginable for human beings and come into existence together to inform and to support and to clarify and to demonstrate with each other this possibility of becoming that can stand the onslaught, can be the bridge between matter, the current condition of collective consciousness, and the possibility that can hold the million generations of humanity that have yet to come. And all that they could create. All that would be possible beyond the boundary of our imaginings at this point. Although I have in my samadhis touched some of these future moments in those nows, where when you're in the samadhis, you're in the one now where all future and all past are there. I know it's possible. I know it's one of the real, tangible possibilities of humanity, if it's allowed to continue to develop within the context of matter. Without matter, spirit cannot evolve. The possible unfoldings of the opportunities for delight, for existence, is diminished. The universe is starved for what we can bring. It is hungry for the vast emptiness to be able to know Ananda. It is a huge longing that's buried in its absolute total unwitting surrender to matter, waiting for an intervention that we are. It'll take at least 1 million generations for us to fulfill the opportunity of this physical universe, to fill it with life, to fill it with love, to open a possibility of evolution beyond anything we could imagine on this little world, in this remote solar system, on the fringes of a galaxy, amidst billions on billions and billions of stars. So the Gita, so sattas, so Gita in times of peril, becoming Krishna. This is new territory. Sattas is a ready and capable organizer and director of this possibility. And my force is totally behind him. He sat in my chair yesterday and I said, I can retire. I can retire if the job wasn't so damn big. I need more. I need all of you to become what he is becoming. And we can do this together. And the opportunity here is to make this real. Because how do we make anything real in this creation? You have to keep repeating it and getting agreement for it. And when enough people keep repeating it and get agreement for it, it becomes real. It becomes a real possibility for mankind. It becomes a demonstration of a possibility that people can no longer ignore. Matter of fact, because it's coming from the field of consciousness, it starts awakening the planet from the inside out. So we keep doing the same thing, saying the same thing in new ways, but from an expanding effectiveness, proportional to the degree of the power we've been able to awaken within ourselves. And what is so perfect? Because the true responsibility for power, the thing that keeps power aligned with the purpose, is love. Love is the true boundary. It's the gatekeeper. It's the holder that allows for the possibility of evolution to go beyond what would otherwise be possible. So power with love. Love, power, power, love is the resolution of the danger and the risk that happens when we awaken our own powers, which is one of the territories that you will encounter as you continue in this path. How many of you are already afraid of your own power? Some of you were born afraid of your own power. You closed yourself down because the world couldn't handle you. That just gives you a hint. But the power in itself will crave more unless it discovers the true fulfillment, which is love. Then the power serves the love. The love leads. The power follows, rather than the other way around. All right, there you go. I think I've done revelation number 1.
Round 1. Ding.
Ding, time up, gong rang, time up. All right, so what do you want to do with me now?
Wow. The way we intended for this was to invite the small group facilitators, those of you who were particularly struck or impacted by today's revelation, to use the raise hand feature in Zoom. And we'll take 3 or so of you and then open it up to the room. And the intention in this sharing is really to further the revelation. Sacha has offered so many threads and pieces of it, any one of which could be deepened or expanded upon. And we know who's going to go first, right? One of Satdas's few talents is throwing himself on the sword of the moment, according to this gentleman. And I'm enchanted by the Supreme. I'm enchanted by the Supreme. And just at the end of your talk, you were speaking in a way in which the throne of the Supreme is that intersection, like the point on the cross where truth and love merge and marry as one. And it was just this morning, I was reading chapter 13, and Krishna's talking about being the vast infinitudes of the Brahman as the supreme being. And what I find myself trying to hold the paradox of is the way in which supreme is simultaneously so vast and impersonal and unchanged by anything, and so intimate and personal. And like the way you read of God, knowing every hair on your head, and if a sparrow falls in flight, it's counted. I would love for you to speak to that mystery of how supreme is both simultaneously.
There is only one knower, and that it's a supreme. The Brahman cannot know itself except as the supreme being. So there is no Brahman who's going to declare I'm the Brahman. It's impossible because the Brahman doesn't have an I. Brahman is a condition that pervades the entire field of existence, every inside, outside, everywhere. It is not limited by matter. It is unlimited. The one that knows the Brahman is the Brahman in that moment. So when Krishna steps back from his engagement in the battlefield, in the training of the Arjunas and the Arjunais, he steps back into his abode. And the abode is the unbounded, timeless spaciousness, the infinity of himself as Brahman. He is the Brahman, and he is all that is not the Brahman, and he is himself. So this is, just think of it. Those are, I mean, yourself too, is when you step back from the ordeal, when you step back from the what's rising at any one moment, which you don't give you much time to step back, what becomes available is this pause, this breathless moment of presence, of unboundedness, of not needing to do, no past or future. It is a break, it's your refuge. So we have all, at this point, when you come to chapter 8, 7 is the transition, chapter 8, you're introduced to this refuge. You have access to it in a much greater way, which becomes even more accessible as you progress through the remaining chapters. So there is no contradiction. It is simply, there's only one knower in all of existence. And that is you, and that is me, and that is you. And that one knower is the Supreme Being. There is no other knower. You know you exist. What in you know you exist? There's no other knower. You are an individual expression of that being and principle. Right? Brahman is a principle. Brahman is the field. It doesn't have an identity. But what gives it identity is the being, the Purushottama. The great Purusha, the Purusha of all Purushas, the one being. And it's this one being that can move paradoxically into different states of identity. I am one with you. I am you. I know no difference. I am you. And simultaneously, I am you. I'm the universe, and I am that which is beyond the universe. Simultaneously. This access point to being the one knower is where the whole universe, all of creation reveals itself, because in that moment, you're the sat enjoying its own existence, enjoying its own creation. Huh? Okay, that's good. All right, anybody else?
First up, we
He's
have
impaled.
Siddhartha.
Yeah, beyond impaled.
Yeah, that was good.
All right. We can't hear you, Siddhartha. Hang on a second. There you go.
Okay. I actually don't have a specific question, but we are still in the introductory phase of this. And I was thinking how the Gita is like the Google Maps for the spiritual aspirant.
Great enough.
That, you know, as we seek, it offers a path. And even you were speaking about the context and how as the context grows, we step back. Context grows, we step back. And we're moving into this greater and greater alignment. And the Gita has that built-in self-governing aspect, like a dimmer switch. The Gita, being a beacon of light, has its own dimmer switch, that as we step in that context, it has the ability to illuminate the greater truth as we become able to receive them.
Perfect. This is how the purpose becomes more and more apparent.
Yeah.
When you step back in this greater perspective, you see the purpose. You experience the purpose of what you've stepped back from. So that's one of the natures of stepping back. You should discover how it all works. You have a way of holding it that allows you to discover the purpose inherent in all that you perceive, all that you can be aware of, all that you attend to. The more focused your attention, because out of that larger context, what comes back down when you come back into your day-to-day life is a current of purpose, an energy that draws from a larger domain of being, the refuge, the Brahmanic field in which all arises. And from that, it comes into existence in you as a current of becoming, a Sat Chitananda. So context creating empowers the effectiveness of you as consciousness in manifesting. Because then the purpose determines the intent. The intent determines the actions. The actions then determine the outcomes and how to discover and perfect the expression, the manifestation of that purpose. Yeah, so you're pointing into great, and it's more than Google Maps, it's Google search. Yeah, you just, once you come into the context, you're tapping, the Gita is you're tapping into, why am I here? And how do I be with this? And just type it into that. And you become the Google search answering. Almost anything that comes up will probably empower your clarity. Whatever verse you read will probably empower your clarity. It won't be the reasonable thing necessarily. It'll be the looking to the answer in the Gita as you scan the Gita. Because it'll be right there. You will be empowering the Gita to be your Google search for whatever is arising in the immediacy of the moment. And you empower it, the more you make it real for you. That's why writing it and reading it and engaging in it and listening to it, to feel it. Because when you feel it, when you get that verse, you get that piece, that title of the chapter or something, and it goes boom, and you feel that. Well, that's you singing the Gita in that moment. You then in the reflection of what the Gita is in that moment. So it's a very powerful way of tapping into a resource interimly beyond yourself until that becomes fully available to you. Of course, it's my experience that the more I strengthen, empower, and speak of the Gita, the more full and complete and total is my access to the Google search. But that's not its purpose. Its purpose is for the delight of its own manifestation through me and to see it in you. All right, I went off quite a bit there on that. Thank you. You weren't asking a question, you were pointing out something I think was very valuable. So very helpful. Thank you. Is there anything more though before you?
No, just that becoming Krishna is becoming the Gita. And to continue the analogy, the individual is the blue dot traveling the path that's laid out, whereas becoming Krishna, becoming Gita, we become the map, would be the universal expression, and become the map for others.
Very good. Exactly. Yeah. It's a process. First, it's recognition. Then it's the revelation. Then it's the realization. When you realize how it all works, then the recognition and the revelation is not necessary because in any one moment, the whole thing is revealed. Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Sacha.
Next up, we have Sachumanu and Savitri.
There they are. The power couple, huh?
Thank you both for doing this. I'm sitting here in my chair and it feels like my whole system is exploding. like Arjuna in myself is swallowing all the diminishment of the whole planet or something. This would be the last moment of my ego to raise my hand. But in honor of you both and in honor of my brother Sadas, I have to take the leap. And especially when you said the words, you know, we do this there's only one reason, and that's to show people their divine nature, if they have a listening, if they feel the call. And when you say stuff like that, and when I feel stuff like that inside my body, that's the yes I've been born for, and there's nothing else.
Perfect.
And there's no need to be dramatic or something about it, because that's the way it is. And I just want to acknowledge that, and I want to make a deep bow for all of you and the whole new Dharma and the whole Sangha, and for all those who are so brave to step into the Gita time and time again. I see so many of the ones who followed the Gita in Amsterdam now starting their own Gita groups. You know, they're coming up everywhere. And, you know, I see them on Facebook and I see their announcements, and I'm just, it is happening. You know, Savitri and I just finished the 18th chapter last week with people that went through huge transformations. And I'm talking about surgeons, I'm talking about lawyers, I'm talking about people who are very sophisticated and they're feeling it, they're doing it, and they're doing the work. And it's, and tomorrow or on Monday, we start a new group again, you know, and it is happening, and it's happening, and it is happening.
Congratulations. I mean, this is you recognizing what you're becoming. And remember, the ego is the vehicle. So you have to have an ego. You don't want to cast the ego aside or reject it. It is simply we're looking to perfect it, to become a more worthy instrument, a more capable instrument. And love will come more and more fully in the process. And this this clearly you are manifesting already, Sacha Manu. You already have been for years manifesting. What the Gita is bringing to you is a structure beyond even your very developed spiritual ego, a purpose that goes for the whole world. And that strengthening is you taking what you've already had and expanding it to meet this new context. And by teaching the Gita, we become the Gita. And by teaching the Gita, we become the Gita. We create others to become the Gita. We sing the song, and those who can hear it start singing the song like a ditty you can't get out of your head. There is just something about the Gita that sticks with you and you just can't get rid of it. It just keeps saying this purpose is the most important thing. It keeps telling you that the thing that's coming has maybe yet to show up, and this is what's in the way. It gives you this context for holding what would otherwise be defeating in the unfolding of that possibility within yourself. So, Satamanu, you're Satamanu for a purpose. You're bringing this and manifesting it to the vehicle that had already been there for you this life. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy to see both of you. You know exactly everything I'm saying. The only thing I could say is we're creating it together. We're in a fellowship that crosses the ocean, right? Bridges the gap between cultures and countries and time and space. And we can be with each other right here in the celebration of our shared endeavor. Krishna rode in the chariot the whole time Arjuna was fighting. I'm there with both of you.
Next, we have Adi Shakti.
Ajay Shakti.
Hello, everyone. This is my new thing, becoming emotional.
That's good.
you talked about fully human and fully divine, or becoming human and divine, and that's what I find is still very hard, because when I sit to you and listen and I feel this energy, this strong energy coming through me, it feels like it blows the human out. There's, nothing matters anymore. And, even during the day when it happens, when I tune into that, it's like nothing matters. So I find it hard to find that integration between that divine and the human, because it's either or still for me, or that's maybe I'm not aware of how much it integrated already, but yeah, it feels very much, if I tune into it, it's nothing matters. It's all, and then it feels like, even when you speak about the peril, I'm like, well, but it's already all done. So the only thing I have to do is to become an empty vessel for the universe to use me for whatever that might be. But there's nothing really to do, just to be.
I mean, most would not consider this a problem. This is obviously a very important, wonderful attainment that you carry. Of course, it's this path that we bring in the human. So right now, the reason there's a disconnect is because your awareness is more developed than your experience. That it was handy for you to become more aware as a means of handling the part of your human that was so invested. And so you've succeeded. You've succeeded in your life to this point, but you've left behind parts of yourself that have to go through their developmental stages before what this can match. Now, the way you can do that is to meet those parts. And how do you do that? You just keep away from the energy long enough, or you make a choice to dive into the part of you. What peril? Peril, what peril? Problem, what problem? Part of you that's still in that place, and choose to descend. And you can do that by taking an issue that activates the child in you, the undeveloped parts, the immature parts in you. For example, one of the experiences of not being able to feel fully your humanity is inaccessibility to trust, or to love, or to bliss, or joy. So your being able to come into your human and experience those can be a doorway to be able to meet the things that are habitually retreating when your awareness expands in the larger current of what you become. You are Ajna Shakti, and therefore you're very big. The job, why you came to the earth, was to be bound and human. And you survived real well because you were the Ajna Shakti in the first place. So there are things locked up in there that will, in time, bring up the passion, the fullness, the commitment to being in your body and being here for the world. It's not far from you. You're close to it. It comes up. You're with me for this reason. You have a personal teacher, a personal expression that's giving you a way of entering into the remaining parts of your human that you can love, that you can serve, that you can discover. And in your relationship with a similar expression of myself in Shivananda, you can come and both be engaged in this integration as part of the context. So you asked the right question. What is it in me that becomes so big that even the problems of my human become irrelevant? The issues of the future humanity is irrelevant. I had to discover this after the 3.5 years of samadhi. I had to discover it, to recommit. I needed a break from what I had been doing in order to see and to discover my love for humanity and what I was willing to do at a personal level for that to be manifest. So it is a discovering of a paradigm and the choosing of it, and to keep looking in that paradigm, to have the intent of becoming one individual person, America, in this awareness and alertness to the consequences of the peril, not only for your children, but for all children, for all innocent beings that are coming into this existence in the opportunity of the unfolding of embodiment. To feel that, to allow yourself to feel the possible consequence if this current peril is allowed to go amok. To feel it as the mother with the child who's starving because no one can get food, or there's no more water, or the disease is killing everyone in the village. To feel this and allow that little part of you to be overtaken by it while you hold that little part of you that's not yet able to feel the individual anguish. Because that's what you ran from. You couldn't feel it all. You were too sensitive. You couldn't even handle your parents, let alone the world. So the principle of becoming strong isn't by shutting down, but by opening up and getting used to opening up.
Next up, we have Sacha Devi.
Sacha Devi.
Hello.
Hello. Good to see you.
You too. Well, I'm slowly starting to crawl out from a very, very dry period. No words, no ideas, no creativity, nothing happening. Someday I would like you to talk about that, but that's not the point here. It's that in this desert dry period, one thing was there, and that was I've known for decades that I have a purpose. And this frustration and not finding the purpose, impatient, wanting to serve, wanting to be of use, wanting to matter. And in self-inquiry a short time ago, the frustration fell away. Having a purpose fell away. And there was such a deep relaxation. What remained was this stable commitment. And when I shared this with a group of people, falling away of purpose and the just ease of being that came with that, as I spoke it, I heard myself saying, I am the purpose. And I, as I spoke it, I saw the truth of it. And that has made such a big difference for me. And it's like I'm sitting here, it's like almost embarrassingly obvious. So I'm likely to be the last person to know it.
It's often just like that.
Yeah.
This apparent desert is an apparency because you're still taking all the actions that are aligned with your purpose. And there's inevitably going to be times where that happens, where it's either you're in saturation or you're in a pause in the unfolding of your manifestation. Learning how to be in the desert is the art of crossing that desert comes from a drive beyond yourself. So when you spoke the purpose, it wasn't the one who imagined she's in a desert. It's the part of you that is the purpose. And the part of you that's in the desert heard herself speak I am the purpose. And in a way, that's the only real power, is when the declaration comes from something other than ourselves. Being engaged in the process of manifesting this work, as you've been doing, will inevitably have you let go of the part of you that's always had a purpose in the way you've known the purpose in the past, always wanting to be of service in the way you long to be of service in the past, into a new kind of being, another kind of paradigm where you allow it to speak itself through you. So it might be good practice to name yourself. I'm Sacha Devi. I am truth manifest. Truth manifest is love. I am Sacha Devi. I am a manifesting agency for the purpose of existence. I am here to let you know that the universe loves you, that the universe cares, that you matter, and watch what happens. You have to be bold enough to sit in the chair next to me. You have to throw yourself outside of the boundary of what your ego says is appropriate or possible. Because we don't have faith in ourselves. We don't, as a human ego, it doesn't know it can trust itself because it's still drawn and shaped by the diminishment structures. So we have to leap. We have to make an outrageous declaration. We have to begin to let something greater speak, act, choose, commit, endure than what we were before. That's how we make it real. The only person it has to be real for is you. Yeah, you may have no followers, you may have 1,000 followers, but if it's not real for you, then you're not there yet. It's not it yet. So you have to like speak with a new voice, hear with new ears, know with a different kind of knowing, experience with a different kind of experience than what your ego has allowed you up to now. So declare it. I am here. I am here. I matter. I'm an expression of the Supreme Divinity coming for you to let you know you too are that. What just spoke there, you speak it. That's the real song of the Gita. That's the final note. Thank you. What evoked that response? You got to own it, my dear. Got to own your own power.
So we have one more facilitator, and then we're going to open it up to everyone on the call.
And do I leave at that point, right? No, I stay. Okay.
Next up, we have Johannaka.
Johannaka. Namaste.
Namaste. It's good to see you both there.
Yeah.
It really inspires me to see Saddas over there. I really enjoy. You know, something with you, Saddas. When I saw you first time, it was in Creston, 2016, I think it was. And I remember you were speaking there. I don't know this love, but I know about the nectarine moon, and that's what I hang into. So for me, you are that beauty of the nectarine moon. I get goosebumps when I talk about it. For me, the Gita, I have seen the evolution of the Gita in myself and the groups here. And I agree with Satarta, it is a map, but it's much more than a map. I've never heard about the Gita before I met you. So for me, it was a guide, it is a guide, it was an inspiration to start to understand that I am something beyond the beyond. And it's like with all these revelations, you read about them, you hear about them, and people speak about them, and you don't understand a shit. It's just mental understanding, and not even understanding, it just goes by. And while we are going through the Gita, it's just a pop. It pops. Aha, aha, aha. I'm here, I've been there, I'm here, I'm there. And suddenly you have been traveling all the journey, and then in the midst of everything, you're in a lot of dejection, and the body is raging, and you just want to die. So I see the Gita as a refuge. It's a life savior, because when I am in those moments of, you can call it peril or despair, I know there's something more, because the Gita is laying the track in front of us. And for me, it has taken me, like, can we confidence and authority say, I'm a divine being. I didn't know what that was when I met you. And I remember the first small group meeting in Creston, the first big retreat I was with you, and you said in a small group, now you can now know there is a God. You can know there is God. And I didn't understand what you said at that point, but it was a major opening for me to step into an opportunity. And I can see in the groups I've been into, the major shifts that Gita does, not only by reading it and hearing other people talk about it, but people are sharing their own experience about what this means for themselves in their direct experience in their lives. So I can see that we integrate the spiritual with the human in a very perfect way, not from the perspective of intellectual sharing the Gita, but coming from a perspective of experience the Gita in ourselves, in our revelations, in our actualizations, because we are living it more and more.
Exactly. It's the immediacy. And when we're in the vulnerability and the immediacy in these groups, and people are sharing their heart and soul with each other, that is the unfolding manifestation of divine love. That is the unfolding manifestation of Supreme Being. That is the song of the Gita. So, one of the great richness of being a facilitator is to go back and listen to the groups you facilitated, to discover that you were just an agency. You were just the means by which they could come into existence and be in that immediacy of their own battling and struggling and coming into existence as a divine being. I listen to as many of the small groups as I can, because it's like drinking nectar as you all come out and take a step beyond the boundary of your safety or your control or your distrust and open up with each other. It is clearly evidence of the song of the Gita being sung.
Yeah. And what I was thinking, well, when you said this thing that go back, we did the Gita and then we did another Gita a year later. And when we were reviewing it again, I could see the evolution in ourselves, the great leap. And the first time we started doing Gita, there was no information at all. We just started from scratch. We had some small papers from Mira at that point in time. And I felt, my God, what was an incredible evolution in this community where we have come to so many people. So it felt like the first time it was kindergarten.
It's how it is. And this is the thing about empowering the Gita, because we empower through our attention. We empower by doing the same thing again and again. Meditation. We empower our ability to meditate by meditating more and more. We empower our ability to know by using our intelligence to know. We empower the Gita by referencing and using the Gita as a way of reminding us and in continuing to empower us. So ultimately you realize that you shift out of the Gita being a book to read from beginning to end, but the quality of immediacy that makes everything new. When you're in the immediacy, the Gita read 10,000 times or 2 times, the difference is it's so much more powerful at 10,000 times, because we keep empowering it as a means of us outside of ourselves to our inside ourselves, as a reference point that keeps us humble in a recognition of the fullness of the journey we're traveled and we're traveling. So it ends up not being reading once again, oh my God, another Gita course, but a discovering of a new capacity to create newness, to create immediate, like as if it never existed before in reading the Gita. Then the Gita becomes a doorway to the immediacy of our own capacity to be in the unfolding endless newness of the truth of our being.
And I'd like to add something there, Shree, and that is listening to your revelations has made such a major shift and difference, because just reading this little booklet is pretty flat. But together with your revelations and having around you energetically, so because it's on so many dimensions here. I mean, one thing that I listened to you from the beginning, you said that the journey is just about energetics. It's all about energetics. Don't lose your energy. Let it build and let it work for you inside. Don't bleed it off. So that one together, I mean, the Sat Force, you as a demonstration, and also your revelations, as I don't know how many times I've been walking with you in my ears when I'm going up and down the mountain in Warsaw or walking here. It's kind of endless hours.
What I am is fully with you, Johannaka. You are what I am, and what you are no different. I'm always with you. You're always with me. Ultimately, it's true for all of you. It is not that we're different, separate. We just have a different role to play in this moment in time. You are becoming what I am. You're in the process of becoming what I am. You're speaking the experiential wisdom of the journey you've traveled. And you carry with you the same kind of capacity to hold the structure and to be persistent. Be patient with yourself in the unfolding of the limitations of your humanity. Me too. It's a continuous process. We're humble in the midst of the magnificence that's trying to become us. So it's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
You are my hero.
In your mind.
You are me.
We are the heroes yet to know the fullness of the courage that we carry, that we've gone through, that we're able to access within ourselves. Perfect. Okay.
So we're going to open it up to the room, and I see we have a... So we'll open it up to the room now. Thank you. I see we have a few hands, Ashish and Krista and Anka, and if you'd like to interact with Sacha, please use the raise hand feature.
First up, we have Ashish.
Hello.
Hello, Ashish. Namaste. I'm so glad you came up.
Chapter 8, Shree. Early this morning, Nella told me sing chapter 8 then, and so I sang it myself. I'm accustomed to singing it with people. This is the first time in a long time I've just ripped it out as I can. And, you know, in a study group a long time ago, Prem remarked about the line in the Revelation, everybody likes the path of light and nobody likes the path of dark. During your talk this evening, when you expansively declared that my love is so big, you know, you can revel in the peril, you know. So I wanted to, with the elementals training, you know, that I'm starting to willfully ask for my awareness. It's come to me that where it habitually resides is here in the region of my eyebrows, my forehead, the outward looking, the eyes, and I'm wanting to bring it down. And so there's a sense in which I remember he said to me, my gift is being able to see in the dark, you know, that not being able to be effective with the outward, this longing to come inside. So when you said this, I wanted to ask you to speak about this condition of the expansion of this stuff. You know, we did the world peace meditation again today that happened on Tuesday using the replay. And when you spoke about becoming the Divine Mother, become both the World Mother and yourself and feel that love, the quality of this depth of coming all the way down into the depth of the body to be able to see from there and expand from there and adore from there. This is something I can't conceive of from here at all. So can you please say something about that?
Yeah, stop believing this. Just love. Just love. First with your heart, then with your gut, then with your balls, then with your ass, then with your whole body. Just love. Love, love, love. You're full. You have everything. You are love. When someone wants to chant with you, what is it that has you chant with them right there? What have you that longs for the opportunity? It's love. You are love, you idiot. You are the love. This is a habit. It's a multiple life habit that has gotten you in trouble and that shut you out from this capacity, this life to be in your body so you could know the huge love that was always inherent in you. We all know this. Everyone who knows you knows you're love. You are just silly that you can't know what you already are. But that's what the predicament is. It's the habit of believing this, the habit of using this to enhance, compensate for the lack of love, rather than just to feel and be the love. Yeah, I know you got it. You're just playing with me so you could be reminded by me rather than yourself. That's okay. It's a song we sing with each other. You're so in my heart. You're so in my heart. I so love you. And I'm so happy with the manifestation that's happening around you. So you're right up there, my friend. You're right next to me.
Next up, we have Krista.
Namaste, Krista.
Namaste, Sacha. I just felt I needed to take this opportunity to come forward with, well, I really didn't want to raise my hand, but everything you've said to each of the people that have spoken has resonated so deeply with me. And last night and this morning in my sits, I had this experience that I had tastes of a couple of years ago, like when I was at Washoe, where everything just stops. There's complete silence and stillness in my system, and there's the aware I am there. And I read the 8th chapter because I wondered, okay, am I aware of the Brahmanic field? And who is that is aware? And then you spoke in response to Sat Das that is the Supreme. And so when you were speaking to Sat Das, speaking in response to Sat Das, and it hit me, I am the Supreme. And I am the Supreme. My whole system, that my belly got very uncomfortable. And coming forward to speak this opportunity to just claim this in the midst of this deep fear of claiming it, that you mentioned also to Sacha Devi. Yeah. And so
yes,
it's huge for
to own it,
and to ground it and to speak it. And now my heart's pounding, my belly's, it's moving, like my whole system is kind of in this storm. And I want to hold that. And then what you said, Adi Shakti, can you hold the storm when it comes up from the Supreme? So in this moment, I'd like assistance, because before that recognition, I am the Supreme, I was still in that state, of just complete, I don't know, being the witness of the spaciousness of it all,
Yes, it's exactly what I said. This is the refuge. Supreme Being rests in the refuge, and then it enters back into the battlefield. So it immediately came in forward and allowed you to hear or to recognize that it's possible that what knows this Brahman, the I am, that consciousness is and can only be and has always been the Supreme. And that is not alien to you. It has been there all along. It is the person in you that's put these rules, these structures in place that has you not wanting to know your own power. And part of it is because of the attachment to the human, the sentimental emotional body, the needs and the wants, the wanting love from outside of yourself. All of these have been preventing you from being willing to own that quality of the Supreme Being you are. Now, it's come forward sometimes. You certainly know it in the work you've done. You've known it in your relationship with me. You've known it in this period of retreat so that you can organize yourself so that you can more deeply integrate the truth that's coming to you. So, and it's what allowed you to risk to come forward right here and now in this moment. This is your courage. It draws from that truth that you are seeking to manifest itself in the person that you also are. So this, I just said yes, because this is what we're talking about. This is what it is. And I invite you to empower the Bhagavad Gita during this program, to write it, to use it to empower it, to be your Google search, to be the pointer, the opener of the revelation of truth that's now showing itself. And in the process, that which may still be keeping you protected from making this transition.
Protected?
Yeah, you're protecting yourself. You're also protecting yourself. And you're protecting the wounded part of you that can't grow into the fullness of what you are. And what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? So that you can feel the anguish of the peril and its consequences. Our ability to hold these concurrent with our purpose and the truth of what we are is how we manifest a greater and greater love and capacity. So I invite you to use that. Now you can also use some other book, but in this course, it is the Gita. Because the Gita, especially the last chapters, it is still Arjuna is still struggling. Well, what is it that has happened to me? How do I go forward? How do I make decisions? Is this attitude the right attitude, or is that attitude the right attitude? Should I do this or should I do that? There's still this process where the collaborating intelligence is trying to continue to be informed about what it needs to do to become what the opportunity is presented. So the leap you did right here is exactly correct. Nothing more needs to be done or figured out. The turbulence in your body is evidence that it's happening. Your participation in this program is evidence that it's going to continue to happen. And it's likely to open up doors even there in your current refuge to what is next. Preparing you for an unfolding that is yet to fully manifest.
Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste, Krista.
Up next is Anka.
Anka, hello, my dear.
Yeah, I also felt to take the leap and put myself out there, especially when I really feel it burning in my diaphragm at the same time.
Yeah, just let it burn.
Yeah. When Sacha Manu shared about seeing the process in people of just starting and then now starting their own groups, and I when he shared that, I was thrown back into like 2 years ago when I started to follow my own or follow Sacha Manu's first group, and that I really didn't dare to speak at all and was still so like hiding and feeling now the change that had happened. And also I rebelled like everything, the whole path, I think. And to now really be able to sink in my body, it's like there's the glimpses of how it can be, like the senses, how they can be, like I still experience it with my eyes closed, but it's like these glimpses of really like being deep in the body, how much potential there is to be activated, and to like I really feel that possibility of the new species. And it's such an honor and so much gratitude of like that this push like to really embody and really be here. And it's
so this is proof in your own experience of the truth of the path you're on. And this evidence is in your own experience of the recognition of the growing authority you have that comes and is able to meet in your body its more perfect and full manifestation. I can see it in you. It's just beautiful to watch. It's like you're maturing before my eyes into the full principle of the divine, the feminine divine that's seeking to manifest in her authority in the world. It just brings me so much happiness to see this happening so quickly in you young people. You're going through what would have taken us older versions decades in just months or a few years. It's really wonderful. So I'm so happy to have you speak up and show up and be this radiant truth of yourself. It's quite powerful too. It's not just beautiful, it's powerful.
Yeah, and it's all possible because of you all. Like, thank you.
Yeah, yes, we're all a team. Sacha Manu, all of us are collaborating in the unfolding. We all play our piece, our part, in whatever that may be, enhancing our ability to get in touch with the potential like you're discovering in your own body, as the reality, making it real in your lived human life. That's perfect.
Up next is Heidi.
Hello.
Namaste, Heidi.
Namaste. Hi, I was also called to share today that in the last number of weeks, I find myself having made a transition from the longing and the separation over to a devotion. Overwhelming, I potentially will cry here. The World Peace Meditation before our 9-day, when you were reading the mantra or the translation of it, just tears just spontaneously flowing down my face, and it was very powerful. And in the 9-day, my intention was to know, to be shown what is still resisting in me from receiving more fully. And in the completion, near the very end, I have felt so much energy within me and a swaying, a slight swaying. And I was saying, you know, I love you so much, I love you. And a very powerful voice came in and said, love all of me, Heidi. Love all of me. And I immediately understood because it's been hard to love the dark within me, the dark that I see. That's also the supreme. And I do love Supreme so fully. It's like overpowers me. My hands, my nadis in my hands right now are just on fire, or electricity. And I felt then, or it was sort of a bit of a vision, maybe more, I don't know, but like of a dissent in a meeting, and something in my body saying, I'm in Heidi's foot, I'm in Heidi's legs, I'm in Heidi's body. Wow, this is what it's like to be in Heidi. So
yeah,
I just wanted to share that.
this is the power of devotion. It enters into our whole body. It awakens the whole body into another vibrational field than it could tolerate before. And it's a process of becoming a more and more open and capable channel of that divine love and the purpose that comes with it. So right now, divine is just loving being you. And of course, you're loving being it. And that's a great deal. There's no question of surrender in you, Heidi. It's all over you. You're just absolutely very clear. You have merged with that divine quality you are, that principle of divine love. And it carries with it an inherent capacity of power that will come in time. But right now, the love is clearly taking you on a ride. I feel you in me all the time. When I see you in the groups, I immediately feel where you are. You're becoming what I am. I feel in my whole body what it is that's happening for you. So it's always a delight to see you because I recognize what you're becoming. Just have faith in your process. It's all perfect.
Thank you, Sat Shree. And I also very often feel you in me, in your presence.
It's curious. We're the same and yet separate. It's the same thing, loving itself in another form. Devotion is a celebration for not only one who's experiencing the devotion, but the one who's being devoted. It is a recognition of the divinity in each other. And this is one of the great thrills with love, is how intimate and personal it can also be. The love, the supreme love, becomes intimate and personal. It lives right next to you. It's right there with you. It is the fulfillment of all intimacy and all personal love, as well as being divine and free, without condition or bondage or demand or insistence. So you're discovering this. You have to be the devoted, the devotee, to become the devoted. Namaste. All right.
you.
I think we have one more. Is that okay?
Okay,
Yeah.
one more.
Last up, we have Claudine.
Claudine or Prem? Prem, not Claudine, no way, not me. Prem,
Greetings,
Prem.
greetings, beloved Satdas, everybody. Beautiful, lovely to be here. I'm so honored, so privileged that in Satdas's introduction yesterday, he was declaring the conch call. And just going back a little after the 9-day, it was enduring calmly within a storm, and peaking prior to this with coming today, sense of living through. I'd watched the Mahabharata during little intervals of the 9-day, the English version. It's very beautiful, very, very moving. And yesterday with Satdas declaring how this is the conch call and we're going forward and there's no looking back. What was back in me had come forward, and it all constellated around my throat, and it was like a coming to account and a purification of ancestral. It's like a personal Mahabharata of a certain kind, and I'd put that to rest, and to come to here today and to be before you. It's like, this is for the greater humanity than anything that was behind me. And I found my purpose. I'm very privileged to be here.
Yeah, you're gonna have to breathe deeper because that's a whole new being that just showed up. It's a whole different version of you is now breathing you. You just got a whole bunch bigger, Prem. With your, this is yeah, I got it. Congratulations. This is a leap. It is a leap. Hang on. This is the bridging between the past and the future. It is a chasm relative to what the past has known. But it's clearly your willingness has thrown you off the cliff and you have no choice. And that's your supreme nature. That's the Supreme Being you already are. I've always seen your magnificence.
You know, it's just so much to know that what is before us was the only thing that mattered. And to come to this.
To come to this. It gives us the strength to go beyond ourselves. It gives us the fulfillment of the purpose of our manifestation, is to be willing to sacrifice ourselves for something greater, for the million generations ahead, to the world mother and her struggle to sustain the opportunity of her children, to the humanity that's paying the price now for the error of the ignorance of those in power. That's what leaps. That's what's willing. We do it for love. We do it for love. All right, just be there. You declared yourself. I see you. I see it. I see what's trying to manifest. I know it's happening. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. So that's the conclusion for today. What a truly beautiful note to end on, and to see what's coming forth in so many of us in this group. You know, just seeing Ashish and Heidi and Krista and Anka and Sacha Devi among a great many others. It's truly already the fruit of this process that's just begun by the grace of this opportunity, empowered by Supreme. So Shree, thank you so deeply, so truly. I did not recover from the question I asked him. It shattered that part in me and just been vibrating ever since. Don't even know my address. I just know to walk that way to get home.
Okay, so thank you all. Let's take some time in silence, just 5 minutes, and we'll finish this revelation. The whole is in each piece. Every one of these revelations will carry the whole. Punamanda, Punamidam, Puna, Punamachate, Punasa, Punamadaya, Punaveva, Vashishyate. As above, below. Hari Om Hat Sat, Hari Om Hat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat Shri. All glory to Supreme. May truth manifest. Namaste.